Hello, hello. Welcome in, everybody. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting to see everybody here. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. You are here for HoneyBook Smart Files, how to double your income with our latest upgrades. And we have Angie Minucci here to walk us through her use case. We are so excited. So
Hi.
guys, let us know where you're tuning in from. We're so excited to be here. I'm going to spend just a couple minutes going through a brief intro on what we're going to be talking through, introducing myself, introducing Angie, and then we'll get into the good stuff.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So
Yeah.
I need to introduce myself and Angie. My name is Mac. I'm part of the product education team here. I've been with HoneyBook for 5.5 years. It's been a whirlwind, so I know the product like the back of my hand, including Smart Files, which is what we're going to be doing a deeper dive into today. And then, of course, we have Angie here. Angie, if you want to take a couple seconds just to introduce yourself and your business to everyone.
Yeah, my name is Angie Minucci. I also go by the technically Smart Blonde. I don't even know if I shared that with Mac. I've built up that brand over the past few years, and I do all the technical back-end integration. So I'm not a VA. I objectively look at clients' businesses when they say, I just want to sell my knowledge online. And so they'll say, hey, I got a webinar next week with HoneyBook, right? And I'm going to sell something. And then I'm like, well, how are you going to deliver that? Which tools are you using? Sometimes we're paying a lot of money monthly and not utilizing every aspect of what we're doing, kind of like Smart Files. Maybe we're using it just to invoice clients and we're not using all of these pieces that HoneyBook has put together these webinars to demonstrate. So I go into the back end and work with you to sell your knowledge online in a variety of ways at an affordable price. So you're not paying for a huge tech stack month after month.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. And a little background on Angie's experience with HoneyBook. She's a relatively new member. She joined us in 2020. Crazy time to join. And she was like initial beta group of users with Smart Files, which was like way back October of last year. So she's almost got a year leg up on you guys. So don't feel stressed if she's using a bunch of tools that you're not using. She's been with this tool from the very infantry of it.
Literally.
So that's why we're going to go through her successes, where she maybe wish she did things differently, and all of that today. So let's get into it. The agenda for today, we're going to be going through what are Smart Files. If you haven't been able to attend one of my orientations, you haven't been able to attend other Smart Files sessions, we want to make sure we give you that kind of level setting definition of what Smart Files are so you know what we're talking about here. We'll also go into what they can do. So we're going to go through a brief high-level overview of what they can do, what it looks like when you're setting them up for your business. And then we'll really be going through the meat of today's webinar. Will be spent in Angie's 4 steps for success. We're going to go through the 4 things that she did or implemented into her process in partnership with the HoneyBook tools and Smart Files to really be successful in doubling her income. Okay, so as promised, what are Smart Files? The big picture here is just that Smart Files help you level up your process from both a design and functional perspective. Okay, so in yesterday's world, your process was defined by relatively rigid or predefined functions or formats of a file, right? Like when you think about an invoice, it's just a plain white page with some text on it, and it's meant to convey what your client's receiving, what they're going to be billed for, and that's kind of where the buck stopped. It was just that one function and didn't have much flexibility. Even HoneyBook was guilty of this, right? There are certain files that could only do 1, maybe 2 functions. So now with Smart Files, what we're doing is we're eliminating those barriers. We're removing those barriers so that you are in the driver's seat and you get the power back to choose what your file needs to look like and what it needs to accomplish. So from a functional and from a design perspective, you're in the driver's seat. that can also be scary, right? Having too many choices, having too many options can feel a little overwhelming. So that's why we're going to go through how you can kind of prioritize your time, how Angie approached the process, what she kind of tackled first. We've done a ton of sessions like this too, just going through how to set up your templates, how to approach this for your business, how to connect this to automations, all of those incredible tools. We still have a couple more sessions in this series that'll go through that as well. So definitely stay tuned for those. But essentially what we're talking about here is just eliminating those barriers again, so that you're in control of your process rather than the other way around. HoneyBook is no longer telling you what your process needs to be. You get to have full autonomy and come to the system and say, this is what works for me from a design and functional perspective. Okay, so everything can be done in one beautifully branded, compelling document, so you're in control. Okay, so practically though, what can they actually do from a functional perspective? Okay, so we're looking at questions. So these are forms, really helping you collect information from your clients at any step in the process. So whether that's an initial inquiry, feedback on designs, qualifying your leads, just generally collecting feedback on your process towards the end in your offboarding materials. That's what you can use questions for. Video is one that we've added, and we'll actually be going into a deeper dive on this today. I know Angie loves video, so we'll be talking a ton about that. This is great for welcoming your clients, explaining services, showing your happy clients, client testimonials, showing you in your work hands-on what is it that you're doing. Invoicing, really straightforward, collecting payment. Service selection, this is that same kind of function of the previous world of brochures, where your clients can actually go through and have an interactive pricing guide where they're indicating to you what services they're interested in moving forward with. Used hand in hand with an invoice feature, by the way. This is a game changer. This is like a hands-off booking flow. And then, of course, contracts and e-signatures. So bottom line, again, the nature of this file is that they can do anything. So they are defined by what you build them to do. It's as simple as that. So for an example, if you just wanted to have a plain white page with an invoice on it, or even a beautifully branded page with just an invoice on it, it can do that. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It can just be a simple function if you need it to be. However, I would be remiss if I didn't encourage you guys to think about where you can combine steps in your process, where you can really streamline those interactions that you're having with your clients. Okay, so a file is a single interaction with your clients. So where can you afford to combine steps so that they're getting a really seamless interaction with you? You're setting those expectations. You're really getting your clients invited into your process with you, right? So that's kind of the space I want to encourage you guys all to live in today. But of course, if that's like totally a burden to even think about, it can just do what you need it to do on a basic level. So don't let it overwhelm you, okay? So let's check it out from a design perspective, right? So we just talked about the function perspective from the tools perspective, right? Because there's two things that have changed here. The functionality of the files is defined by you, and the customization and the branding from a design side has changed as well. So let's take a look at that. So I'm just going to show you this brief little clip of our template gallery. We'll be touching on this today as well, but this is just a little glimpse into what they can look like. So they all come together, all the function and design features of the smart files come together to really set you apart and really kind of change the way you're doing business, which is the theme of today's session, right? You're only going to double your income if you're changing the way you're doing business. So that's really what we're talking about here. So we're talking about super flexible layouts, multiple pages of different lengths depending on what you need to convey. We've got colors, background images, customized fonts, so you can upload completely customized fonts now. So much more to unpack here, but this is just a little glimpse of what these files can do and how they can look, how they feel to your clients on their end. So again, we're just putting the power back in your guys' hands to build the process the way you need it, rather than confining you to the formatting of the tools you have available. We're really opening things up so that you guys have the flexibility you need as business owners. Okay. let's get into Angie's 4 steps. So we're going to take a look at how she used these tools in her business. Angie, I'm going to pass it over to you in just a couple seconds here. I want to just go through the things that we're going to be touching on. So we're going to cover 4 tips from both the design side and the process side today. And we're going to dive into her real life files so that you can really start to visualize how this has worked for her. So we're going to be going through branding as our first point. So all that encompasses, how she approached branding for her business, what branding means to her, how she wants you guys to think about it. We'll be going through video like I promised, so how you can use that in your business. We're going to go through combining steps. So this is a big one, right? How do you go through like the thought experiment of deciding how to combine steps in your business, how Angie did it, how she thinks you guys should do it, and then building a process that can evolve with you. So how do you build something that over time can really grow with you and help you evolve with your business? Okay, Angie, I'm going to pass it over to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. If you want to go ahead and switch it on over to yours. I want to go through the branding part first. So can you walk us through how do you make sure that your branding is really at the center of all of your communications in your smart files, and any tips that you have there? Oh, Angie, it looks like you're on mute still.
I was just making sure you didn't hear any of the life happening behind me. Okay, you got a dog toy. There's people. Okay, so yeah, I am a huge offender, just like a lot of people in this space, right? We kind of confuse inspiration for like getting in our own way. And so I would look at the templates and I'm like, oh, they're so pretty with their pale pinks and their macaroons and their gold assets. And I change everything about my business in 2 seconds. And so when it came to the branding, I love the fact that the smart files allow us to fully customize everything to match, to set it and essentially forget it. So when we're in those templates like you showed, once you have that branding set up in your HoneyBook account, you click a button and it customizes that template to match your business. You can go in and set up certain elements like, oh, I don't like the way this looks pink. Let me make an orange or whatever that is. But it really is able to be carried across without getting stuck, right? How many times have we all gotten stuck in Canva and we're like, oh, this is pretty. Now let me make everything else change. And you spend the day and you've done nothing and done everything at the same time. So carrying that through, and that leads to the video. I'm very active on video. So why would I not include that video in my smart file? And do you want me just to open up my smart file and show you what that looks like?
Yeah, I think that would be awesome.
Okay.
And if you could point out too where the company theme button is that you were just referring to, so folks can see what that is and just get a glimpse for what that looks like.
Absolutely. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen so we don't have that crazy lag. Okay, so I have set Mackenzie as a client of mine with the webinar example project here. And I'm going to go into her area. I'm sure you all are familiar there. And I have a function right now called custom smart theme or smart file. I click on this and I have my business. My main part of my business is called Teletech, kind of like Teledoc for your online business. So I have a smart file called my welcome kit. After I speak with somebody on the phone, we have a Zoom call. We figure out if my services, any of them are a fit for their business. I say, hey, I'm going to send you over a welcome kit. Go through it. It'll be very self-explanatory. So what I did is, oh, you want me to show you that button? Let me go back to the templates.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Let's go right there into the templates. And then, okay, so any of these that I want to use, for example, let's just go into the custom brochure. Oh, why am I not seeing it, Mackenzie? I'm so sorry. Oh, no, was it up there?
No,
was it at the top?
Right corner.
I thought so. Okay.
Yeah,
there, I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, this is where it could be. This was probably green or purple or something to begin with. When I hit this apply company theme, it's going to make everything. Yes, I want to apply it. It's going to make everything in my fonts, in my colors, and it's going to show me what that's going to look like. I can go in and customize them based, individually if I want. I just leave it, or else again, it'll be a rabbit trail and I'll get nothing done for the day. So then it goes to my pink, simple black and white, the fonts I chose, and I hit save, and it adjusts everything in this smart file template to be the colors that I chose. Yep. Then all I have to do is change the images of myself.
Yeah. So just to reiterate too, for folks watching, you can set your company theme in your company settings. And that way it'll just basically be the default for branding when you're creating a new file, but it also gives you the ability to kind of blanket your branding over, existing files that you have. If you want to save them from the template gallery or anything like that, it gives you a blanket of branding that you can just lay over anything. So it'll give you that default branding to start from scratch, but it also gives you that one-click application of your branding to any file that you want.
Now, here's a little trick. I'll go ahead. Do you mind if I get a little into this, Mackenzie?
Sure,
So sometimes we see a file that looks like this, right? And we're like, oh, this is so pretty. But who has a picture of themselves sitting against a blank wall looking perfect with their laptop? We don't, okay? However, a little trick is if you click on this photo that you want, okay, this photo, you were like, I want my face to show up just like this. I want the wall behind it, and I want to look like I just walked off of the Instagram feed. What you can do is you can go over to the image that you want. You can right click and hit save image as, and then go and create your own image. Don't copy hers, obviously, right? Like, you're not going to use her and just stick your face on top of her, but you can then go into a tool, Canva, Photoshop, whatever you use to edit your images, make an image that same size, position yourself in that same spot, so you're not putting a picture and your face is this close to the image. So it's just one of those little insider things, and that's how I made my images actually match the template that I was using. So I didn't be like, we have all looked at WordPress, right? And then we're like, how do we make our stuff look that good? And we load it and it looked janky as crazy. That's just a little trick there to make your images, little side note, look how you want them to look without really destroying the aesthetics of it. So just a little side there. It's something that I do it all day long. So I'm like, let me share this with people.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. So another question just around branding, Angie, I know we talked about like getting down the rabbit hole of seeing other people's branding, and like that kind of imposter syndrome branding starts to creep in where we feel like our brand isn't accurate. Like how do you stay in your lane with your branding, or how do you stay confident in that and not let that kind of creep up?
So number one is thinking about, in this space, obviously, I'm sure all of the HoneyBook users, we're all doing something and we all are charging for our time. And when we get down that rabbit hole, we're like, is what I'm doing really making me money? Changing this whole thing, making my business look like somebody else's. One of my little tricks that I do, and I always tell my clients to do, is start looking at, when you look at files, maybe you're not in the coaching space, right? Maybe you're a photographer, or maybe you're a floral designer or a wedding planner. So looking at smart files with the themes of other industries, personally for me, keep me out of that comparison trap, because I'm like, okay, let me look at everything in the fitness space, because I'm not a fitness person. I am the furthest thing from it. So I can't conform my business and my branding and things to look like this girl in this perfect crop top and positioned on the fitness equipment and eating the bowl of salad. That wouldn't fit in my business. So I'm less likely to go down that rabbit hole. The other thing is, when you look at it, I feel like everything, and guilty as charged, everything right now lately that we are seeing on our feeds are these pale beiges and the pale pinks in that space of female coaches and in the entrepreneur space. And it's so easy to get sucked into something by simply downloading a template or looking at somebody's smart file and saying, oh my gosh, it looks so nice. But once you have that color and the smart file is already set, that's what I love about that apply your theme, because it's going to apply it all the way throughout that smart file, and it's going to make your stuff look just as tied together, even if it's neon green. Because in the appropriate places of where that neon green would look good, it's going to replace all of my pink with your neon green. and look awesome, because it's all tied together with something that, if you like go back to your roots, that you absolutely love, and you're just seeing it piece by piece. So don't try to just don't change your business. You're in here to do a job. You're in here to get this smart file to a client that's going to pay off tenfold more than making it look pretty, because pretty in the opinion of who?
Yep. I love it.
Okay.
Awesome.
And these things are possibly created by graphic designers or people who do this, they're doing it for this purpose. You don't know if this is actually somebody's business.
Right.
So
yeah. Exactly.
Based on what? The model home? Well, of course it's not going to look the same when you have 5 dogs running around, but that's your life, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that. Just like staying in your zone of genius and owning that and taking that confident step forward into it. Okay, let's get into video. Angie, can you walk us through how you use video in your business, just to start?
So number one, I do all of my lead acquisition via video. And when I carry that over into my smart file, I keep saying smart theme, my smart file, I tell my lead, essentially my new client, my new customer, on the call, hey, I'm going to send you a welcome kit. It's going to explain everything in the video, just like we chatted here. Excuse the terrible screenshot. This is just not something that was a priority to me. I look like I'm about to go to sleep. This video, the second they open up this smart file, says, hey, this is the welcome kit that I was telling you about. Over the next few pages, when you click the pink button, it's going to guide you through everything you need to know to get us kicked off on the right foot. So it's easier to convey, like for someone like myself, or if you're like, I want to use video, or maybe it's easier to explain, record it. You're telling every client the exact same thing. Right. Now, maybe you're in the photography space, right? And maybe you do wedding photography and baby photography. Well, those are 2 totally different groups of people that you're going to explain something completely different to. You're not going to tell your bride and groom what time to make sure that we book this session because baby needs a nap. And you're not going to tell the parents to make sure that they're in coordinating outfits for their engagement photos. So you can just create one smart file, clone it out, and send one type of smart file, one of those to your wedding people and one of those to your baby people. And the personalization is going to come through the video. Hey, we're going to get ready for your newborn shoot. Hey, congratulations. Let's get started with that engagement shoot. Everything else is the same. The process of working with you is the same. Maybe it's a unique calendar you give them. Maybe there's some getting ready tips, obviously, that are different. And we'll talk about those in the next few pages of the smart file. But personalizing that video, I wouldn't do it per thing. I wouldn't be like, hey, welcome new parents, Susie and John, and welcome new couple, Eliza and whoever. I would just make it based on the job you're doing, not based on the person you're talking to.
Exactly. That's like one big point that I always give to is like, how can we lean more into a space of things still being personalized without having to be unique every single time? Yeah. Just because it's personalized does not mean it has to be unique. Your client doesn't need to hear their name in the video. They do need to receive the specific information that they've requested from you, right? And that still feels really personalized because it's your face on the other side of the video. It's all of that stuff. So that is really what we're talking about here. Angie, can you tell us a little bit more about like how you decided to start using video for your business, or what other tools maybe you use for people who aren't as familiar with how to record a video? Like, where do you start with all that?
So being someone obviously is a technically smart blonde that loves the tech, I also like to keep my tech as simple as possible. Personally, I record all of my video. This sounds really bad, and probably a videographer wouldn't tell you this. I record all my video using Zoom. Why? Because I love the camera that's on my Mac, my iMac. It also has this really nice filter, and I know there's quite a few men in here, but ladies, it just makes you look nice. It's got this really pretty effect, and I like what it's doing right now, so I'm just using it. I also love it because I can get the audio file as well. already ripped and I just pop that up on my podcast if it's in a video that's podcast worthy. Some of my other tools when I'm using editing on my phone, I love InShot. I like InShot. I can make it different sizes. I definitely would go with the paid version. It just has a little bit more, you make longer videos. That's literally all I use. If I need to annotate something or make something look a little pretty, not that I need to. If I get stuck down that rabbit trail, I use Canva. I keep it as simple as possible. If it's something that's taking me longer than 10 or 15 minutes, I'm not doing a video for a one-time thing. I say, screw this idea. Does anybody really care? And I outsource it if it has to be done. I've only done that twice because I just like to get to the quickest path to cash, the quickest, let's just wrap this up. And no one's going to know if there's a mistake but you.
Right.
If I stumble across a word, I'm human. Okay. Yeah. I'm not going to go and re-record another 6-minute video because that hair will be out of place. It's never going to be perfect. Record it, get it up, make sure it's concise.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. One final question here on video.
Yeah.
I know that with HoneyBook, when you go to add a video block, there are only certain, it's basically from a URL. So you're not uploading an MP4. It's either Vimeo, YouTube, and I actually don't even know what that third one is, but it's basically you have to put the URL in. So how do you do that? You record it in Zoom and then what?
And then that's funny. I was just doing this before our webinar. So the third one is actually Wistia.
Okay.
Wistia is more expensive. YouTube, here's the difference. This is where I tell people. And again, there's probably more in detail things than maybe you can. Can you make a YouTube video not show your other videos show up at the end or recommended for you? Yes, you can. There's a piece of code you can put there. Google it. It exists. I've never gone down that trail because I use the other two anyway. You can do that with YouTube. Okay. If you don't care, then use the YouTube link. One thing I tell you if using YouTube, if you don't want the video to be out on your YouTube channel, make sure that it is unlisted, not private. Private is only going to be you, even if you put this link in there. So little note there, grab your page paper. Unlisted is what you want that setting to be so that you can have it there. The next one is going to be Vimeo. Vimeo does have like a $7 a month plan that you have a certain amount of videos you can put up every week, I believe it is. It works totally for mine and I'm everywhere online. I've not had to go higher than that. I'm just very strategic as to when I put the videos up there. Little side note, I may have 2 paid Vimeo accounts so that I can do that and only pay $7 and $7 and not pay the full amount. Hey, we work around these things, right? Wistia allows you an account with 3 videos for free. Why I use Wistia versus Vimeo, honestly, I use them for my client sites if they just want something like a welcome video. They don't want to put it up on YouTube because they don't want that stuff behind it. And it's just something I manage for them. Wistia is more money, but there are a lot of capabilities. I know that you can do a lot of like, who watched so much of your webinar, and you can do a lot more tracking and things when it comes to Wistia than you can with YouTube. But I'm not a video expert. That's just the difference in when I choose to use one versus the other.
That's super helpful. Yeah, I literally wouldn't have even been able to give any of that advice. So that's
it's what I do. So.
I love it. So just to recap for anyone in the audience, just some ideas around how you can use video that I have. You could share you like in your element, hands-on, doing what you do, make something. If you're an artisan, show yourself in your craft. You could show your products or your studio, just showing you really hands-on. Again, you could show happy clients. You could do a series of client testimonials. You could use video on your service block pages. So one way that I've encouraged people to do it before is to have a service block with a single service and a video explaining what that is, and another service block and a video explaining what that is. So you have, rather than the written content explaining it out to the client, you have a video. So it's really compelling and personal, again, without it having to be unique every single time, right? Because your services don't change. Venue tour, this is an easy one if you're a venue. welcoming clients to a document. I think this is an incredible option. Obviously, Angie swears by this. So welcoming your clients into a file, into your experience. Hey, here's what you can expect from this document, kind of level setting with them a little bit there. I think setting expectations with clients is a huge and actually often missed part of the client journey and your client flows. Do not miss the opportunity to set those expectations with your clients, and video is an incredible way to do it.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads us into our next topic, Angie. The third tip we wanted to give today is around combining steps. So can you walk us through, just for starters, like how you specifically kind of contemplated combining steps in your own process?
Yes, this is my favorite part. Loving the automation. I love this part because it's ever evolving in my business, and it's ever evolving in my clients' businesses. So in this space, I very, very first got started as an executive assistant to a real estate investor, speaker, coach, all of the things. And I was doing everything manually for him, from sending contracts to booking calls on his calendar to sending invoices to following up, like all of those manual pieces. And I was like, this is crazy. I found a way to eliminate myself. And you'd be like, well, why did you do that? Well, because then I could free myself up to do bigger things for him that were going to yield him more money than me sending an email back and forth with a contract. Like, why not just automate this stuff, right? So I took a look. As much as I love the tech, I stepped out of the software, right? I was like, smart files, awesome. Now let me take paper to pencil and figure out what are these steps I'm doing with every single client. Well, I'm sending them an email and following up with them after I meet with them over Zoom. So there's one step. And then if they're like emailing me, or some that know me personally texting me at crazy hours, like you said, setting that expectation. If I didn't set it, I can't grumble about it. So maybe I need to tell them what they can expect, when they can expect an answer back, and the appropriate ways to get in touch with me, what they can expect as far as follow-up time, how quickly I'm going to be able to turn around whatever that project is that we're working on. A lot of the times it's almost opposite, right? They think like, oh my gosh, this is such a huge thing, and I send it back in like 10 minutes, it depends as to what it is. And then I'm collecting information. A lot of people are sending maybe like a Google form, right? Hey, can you give me access information? Can you give me what I need to fulfill this project for you and give me the details? You can do all of that. So here is my what to expect. I let them know my working hours. Personally, I literally do this all day long, but these are the hours that I really want people to expect to hear from me. And it gives you a little insider secret. It gives you that leverage to, I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, to over deliver. If I'm like, hey, listen, let me do this for you right now. If I get a message at 9 o'clock at night, I'm on my computer, more than likely, I'm going to do that for you. Right. And it makes them think like, oh, wow, she's really, so, hey, this is when you can expect, but I more than likely will do things outside of these hours. But I set that expectation so they're not expecting an instant answer at 9 o'clock at night. It happens. Right. We all know. I give them my assistant's email address so that they can email her. It takes that pressure off of me to immediately respond. And then she puts that on my calendar to fulfill and do the work. I do all of the work myself in my business. I know it's not scalable, but I love what I do. We can have that conversation in another day. The questionnaire. This is where, like you said, it's personalized. But 10 times out of 10, I already have some of this information from them because I've had that conversation. They've scheduled just a call with me where we brain dump everything out and they've shared their screen. So a lot of the times I don't need their ClickFunnels account access. I don't need their Go High Level account access or whatever we're working in. I'm able to say, hey, when we're on this call, if you're saying it's a go, Mackenzie, go ahead. Let me just show you how to add me as a user inside of your WordPress dashboard now. And then we don't even have to go through this. If they do need to share something, I have a blog post on my blog that I direct them to that shows them how to use LastPass if they don't want to send me the email direct or the user, password directly. These I do customize based on what project I'm doing because nobody's business is identical. So these I will go through, and then I just, like, if I don't obviously need, you're not doing a blog for you, I'm just going to delete that question. Not going to update the template because I don't want this to be the same for every single person. This was set up based on a one-to-one partnership I had with a partner of mine, and I was setting up like the exact same blog set up for everybody, so they all needed to give me this information. Next, the contract. And I absolutely love the fact that you guys have contracts provided by the contract shop. Like, I love that. It came through there. So I was able to just go ahead and create a service agreement in here, pull the contract in from the templates, and I then can go through, and again, a lot of this doesn't change because it's the same. I will change what service that they are paying for, and we can show you how that's linked here. This is actually a very old template. I no longer offer this at only $300 a month. And so I just haven't updated it. But we can do that now, actually, if you want. Like, you can go in and edit it. And then I'm going to say, it's my teletext service that starts at $500. So I then, if I wanted this to be the same on everything, I'm going to update this template. Now, when I open this back up tomorrow to send it to somebody, it's going to start at this, unless they're at a much higher price point, depending. I'm not going to get into that. That's, so let's go back. And now it's going to pull through on the contract. See these little, like, I call them wedding rings. I'm sure there's something else. It's going to pull that, meaning that it's linked to the contract. To the invoice, and it's going to pull from the invoice. And then inside of here, anything additional that we talked about, again, no two businesses are the same. I let them know, hey, this is what that would look like. My hourly rate typically does stay the same, so I leave that. Unless you're like my best friend or something, I'm going to adjust that. And then I go ahead and I'm able to sign it digitally, and then it gets sent. When I send that smart file, the client's able to sign it. So that's how the contract works. Then it goes down to the invoice. I love the fact that the invoice is built right in, because all of these are steps that I was doing, right? I was getting that questionnaire done. I was creating a contract, having to go to DocuSign or PandaDoc or something else. It's built in, and it's going to them in, I explain it like a mini website that guides them through. They only have one option, submit, right? They only have one option, go next. So they have to pay this, right? This is what it's due. And there's some things we can do here. Is it a reoccurring? Are they getting a reoccurring, or are they just getting an a la carte service? So you can edit this, again, based on the project, and then send this to them all in one pretty little package tied up with a bow.
I love it. Angie, just in the effort of time, I want to go through one last question on this piece specifically. I feel like I get a lot of pushback when I'm talking about smart files and combining steps to our members, because they feel like it's information overload for their clients. They feel like their clients are going to feel really daunted by this amount of information, and so they feel hesitant to do it. So what would you say to folks who are feeling hesitant about sending a document that is this kind of dense to a client?
I use the smart files about 3 to 4 times a week, at least, on a very conservative number. I've never had anybody say that to me. I know what is daunting is a constant back and forth of trying to get on somebody's calendar, agreeing if a time is good, agreeing with this and that, setting those expectations, then having to create an invoice. Hey, did you get it? Hey, did you see it? Hey, let me remind you to pay it. Oh, hey, by the way, here's a contract. Send that back to me. That's daunting. Honestly, when I tell you 50% of the time, again, going with a conservative number, does somebody message me? I have the screenshots. I have the email saying, how did you do that? And can you do that for me? That's what I hear more of. And I'm not saying that because I'm on the HoneyBook webinar. I'm saying that because those are the honest reactions that I am getting from clients. And these aren't clients that are coming to me for a one-time thing. All of my clients are high achieving entrepreneurs who are running their own businesses, and they've never said that this was overwhelming. So if they're very busy doing their own thing and they're okay with it, I'm suspecting that others would be okay with that as well. Yeah, I've never heard them say it's information overload. Information overload to me is back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it kind of comes down to also like setting expectations early on. Like, yes, this file has 6 pages, but if you take that first page to explain the purpose behind those 6 pages and you know, how long it'll take them to go through the file maybe, or just welcoming them in, that way they're not feeling like they're alone in the journey. Like if you're really concerned, I would definitely encourage you to implement a video at the beginning, kind of introducing them and setting those expectations to what this file is and how they're going to interact with it, so they don't feel like they're just flailing. Obviously, if they're dropped off into like the first page and there's a ton of content and they don't have the context from you, like it is in your, you know, set of responsibilities as the business owner to let them know what's coming and let them know what this is. But I think so long as you're setting those expectations.
Yeah. And one thing that I just recently heard, if anybody knows Julie Chanel, what I heard her share, and I've used it so many times over the past month, is when I do get pushback like that, number one, it's usually from when like people haven't even tried it, you know? And the second thing is, don't borrow tomorrow's problems today. You don't know if it's going to be a problem. You've never actually given them something like this to know if they're going to have a problem with it. And you're giving them all this information anyway. You're just wrapping it up and making it easy for them. They're not having to go through their Gmail and find all these things and delaying working together even more. They're getting everything at one time.
Exactly.
And I love the fact too, you can see if they've read it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lady, I think she was very old. And she's like, I'm not getting anything. I'm not understanding. And then she went to the woman who referred her to me and was like kind of barking a little bit. And I'm like, I've sent it to her 3 times and she's read it all 3 times, including 5 minutes ago. Like when she realized that, like, I just wanted her to click on this. But I could see that she had opened it. It wasn't anything. So do you want me to show you what the template email looks like, or you want to jump to the next?
Let's jump on to the next one just in the effort of time, because we have about 8 minutes left until I want to dive into questions from folks. So the last piece here that we wanted to talk through is just around building a process that can evolve with you and like getting into that business headspace for being able to grow and change and add to your process and like remaining flexible and malleable in your business. I think it can be, you know, again, too many options is not a good thing, but just the right amount. Like, how do you stay in that space, Angie?
So that's a really good segue into what I actually told you. We were going through this the other day. This is able to evolve with your business. So if you do feel like, hey, this is a lot of information at once, just send that welcome kit to get them started, right? Get them started, get them working with you. And then if you have to make recommendations or something of that nature, use a different smart file. Or if it's something that you're doing to every single person, add it as that 6th page, add it as another piece, combine it with something else. So an example exactly would be, I'm sending emails right now back and forth of like, hey, the task is done, go ahead and look at it. And then I have a few that are coming back and they're like, I don't really like that picture of me. Can we change this? Like, honey, that was 6 weeks ago. We've already wrapped this up. You told me it was fine, but I'm not going to go back through 6 weeks worth of emails with the amount of clients I have and find that. Like, I'm not going to rub it in your face saying you said this was fine. So I found in the templates a task completion approval. Actually, it was a design completion approval or design approval. So I'm in the process of adding this as a task completion. So allowing this to, again, as my business evolves and grows, I'm noticing this is something I'm doing manually every single time. So now I've gone through, I'm in the middle of building this out to where every task that I do, I'm adding, like right here, I literally have it started, the checklist of everything I did to this website. Do you approve it? Are you signing it? And what changes do you need made? So that we have it, I can send it every single time I do something, and it's taking that back and forth off of my plate. Having it evolve. Another one is if you're in the space where you're recommending things, right? You're recommending vendors. Like I do know that there's a spot in here for vendor recommendations. you can set up a smart file, a page of your smart file, or even a separate one that if they do say, hey, who was that you mentioned when we met? Or who was that? You can send them something that has all of those recommendations right in there. You can, so it evolves with, like I said, the stuff that you're doing repetitive. If it's a question you're always getting, you're going to make a YouTube video about it because other people want it. It's good for SEO, right? Same thing with these smart files. If it's something you find yourself like, oh my gosh, let me just find the fourth time, the other 6 times I sent this out this week. Let's go ahead and add it as the smart file because they're probably going to ask that question.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think it's, really important to recognize in your process where repeat steps are coming up, right? Because that is ultimately where you find gaps, bottlenecks, room for improvement in your business. And that is kind of the nature of HoneyBook, is allowing you to have that visibility into your business processes in ways that you wouldn't otherwise have had. So kind of illuminating that by nature and giving you that room to improve so you can get more time back to reinvest into your processes. So each piece of your process and each moment or interaction that's coming up with your clients is already a system in HoneyBook, and you can just pull upon it when the time is right. That is huge. And just being able to constantly evolve and develop and change your business, and staying in that place where you're not getting too rigid or set in your ways or set in stone, but always kind of allowing your business to grow, even grow with the times, right? Video function, video welcoming your clients was not something that was always super popular, but obviously with TikTok and Instagram and all these video interactions, this is now how people are interacting with one another. So how do you make sure that your business is keeping up and staying up to speed with all of that?
And one thing I'll say with this, especially the smart files, is kind of take an audit, right? Go through and be like, what is, and we're all like, oh, we don't have any time. Well, you do have time when you realize how much time it'll save you. You know what I mean? I don't care if it's at 2:00 in the morning. You've got time. Okay. Scroll through there and use it as inspiration. What are those templates that other people are using, especially in, both in your area of business and in others? Oh, I didn't even think about that. There's so much more. There's so many, I call them profitable possibilities that you're not even thinking about. I guarantee you, I'm huge on selling knowledge. Once you start looking, I'm so sorry, guys. When you start looking at these templates, oh, I could send something like this. Oh, I could do this. And you really start to build this smart file that is built for your business, right? It's built for your business. So.
Yep. I love it. Okay, we're in the last 2 minutes, so I just want to wrap things up and thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate you all. I know there are a ton more questions in the chat, but we're not going to have time to get through all of them. If you have questions specifically around services or hands-off booking flows, that is a session that's coming up in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. Angie, thank you so
much. You're welcome.
Everyone got so much information from you today, and this has been so helpful.
Yeah.
So exciting. If you guys want to check out too, Angie's blog post is on the blog where we featured her full case study. So you can go to read more details there. And this was recorded, so you can always check the recording out later too.
Yeah, no problem. Awesome. I've been answering some of the Q&A questions. I'm this is what we mean.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you so much. All righty, everyone. Thank you. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and we'll talk to you next time.